Hey everyone, welcome here to Get Off My Lawn. It's the newest show here on the Business Shenanigans Network. I'm Trent May with May Financial. I'm coming to you live here from this wood panel jungle behind me. With me, as always, your Moroccan superhero, Mahmoud Sprout Digital, and your host, Rick Garrett. We somehow got Rick Garrett to be the host of one of our shows. Rick, how's it going, man?
Oh man, I'm great. How are you guys? I love the term Moroccan superhero. You need to copyright that. Mahmoud, I can see you having a line of T-shirts and caps, stickers.
I have it on my list. MoroccanSuperhero.com. That's the
It's
first
because-
thing I'm going to do. I'm going to buy that domain first.
Yeah. It's because of his extensive collection of capes that he's always walking around with.
Oh my gosh. I think it's a fantastic idea. You know, in this day and age, it's all about finding your right niche. And I think we have found yours. Hopefully you'll give Trent some credit for that if he's the one that came up with it. So how are you guys this morning? Let's take a minute and introduce ourselves. For the folks that are watching for the first time, this is the first episode of Get Off My Lawn. I love that title. Trent, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Trent. I'm a financial advisor here at May Financial, and I'm excited to vent today, get some things off my chest.
Mahmoud, what about you?
My name is Mahmoud. I live here in New Bremen, Ohio, and for a living, I beg business owners to get online, to get their business online. That's what I do all day, every day.
Oh my gosh. And I'm Rick. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm the founder and host of the Rick's Rambles podcast, and a musician and comedian and public speaker. And, you know, over the next few weeks, we're going to talk about the issues that face us today as men and people in general, especially as we age. We've got three people from three different areas, three different generations. Mahmoud from Morocco originally, and Trent in rural Ohio, and myself in Indianapolis. And it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. How about you guys?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Excited to see what this turns into.
It's going to be great. Trent, how was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was good. I've been having these like random sneezing fits though. And I was kind of telling you guys a little bit about this before we started. But yeah, we took one of my daughter's friends anywhere she wanted to go out to eat. And she picked a buffet in town. And we're usually not buffet people, but it's like, hey, wherever you want to go, we'll go there. And so they do this thing where they have you put on these plastic gloves before you get in the line. And so I get the gloves on, get in the line, and then I feel like a tickle coming. I'm like, oh no, like sneezing fit's coming. But at this point, I'm committed. I'm in the line. I've got the gloves on. I don't want to take off for the bathroom, you know, with the gloves on my hands. So I fought harder than I've ever fought before in my life, and I suppressed that sneeze until I got through the line.
Sneeze is serious now.
Oh, that's right. In this day and age, you don't want to sneeze or cough or sniff in a public place. That's for sure. Mahmoud, how was your weekend?
Oh, it was great. Saturday, I had a pickleball tournament in Versailles. So that went. You guys familiar with pickleball?
I am, and it's something that's on my list to try. It looks like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's like a modified tennis. It's like playing tennis, but a smaller court, small paddles, and like a wiffle ball type thing. Yeah, it's great. It's a great sweat without all the impact of tennis. I feel like tennis is a lot of running, a lot of sprinting.
Right, the court's a little bit smaller, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and there's a lot of rallies, like back and forth. Bam! It's like it turns into ping pong at some point, where all the players come in closer to the net. It becomes a ping pong rally, basically. So that's the fun part of it.
It looks fun, and you know, I see a lot of people in their 60s and 70s and even 80s playing pickleball.
Yes. Yeah.
So, you know, for those of us that are, you know, a little bit longer in tooth, so to speak, it's a great alternative when tennis becomes a little bit too tough, or some of those other types of
Mhm.
sports.
Mhm.
It's getting really, really popular around here.
It is. It is. I went to Florida last spring, and it was everywhere. Pickleball was everywhere. I think the senior population is really driving pickleball everywhere. Like
Oh,
when I play, there's always maybe 60-70% of the people playing in the tournament are like over 60. They just love it. It's a great workout for them, and they drive it everywhere. Like they promote it.
That's one of the challenges as we age. We get more aches and pains, and our bones get a little more fragile. Is finding ways that we can stay active and maintain both our physical and our mental health. So, if you've not heard of pickleball, those who are watching might go to YouTube and watch some videos, check it out. And it seems like most towns have some kind of a pickleball organization. So
Trent, like every town now is starting their own.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So pickleball, that's a great thing. Trent, I guess you had some unusual or frustrating experiences this weekend, right?
Yeah, well, the theme of the show really is, for this episode 1, is getting cranky with age. And I will say, to the most part, I'm pretty calm. My wife would say, annoyingly so, that I am pretty calm. I just don't get agitated at most things that people get agitated about. I take a step back, I take a breath, and I assess the situation, but all of that gets pushed aside when it comes to four-way stops. I hate four-way stops with all of my being, and I think the problem is that usually most people will encounter like 1, maybe 2 four-way stops a day, but between like where my kids go to school and where I work and where they have activities and everything, like I'm going through like 8 to 10 four-way stops a day. And somehow I always, there's a stop sign. I always seem to get there at the exact same time as someone else. And then there's that whole, like, do I go first? Do they go first? And then if that doesn't happen, what always happens is you have the Good Samaritan trying to be nice with someone else's time. They get to the four-way stop first. They make the first stop. And then you stop a couple seconds later. And, like, I don't make a habit. I guess a lot of people do this. I don't make a habit of staring into other people's vehicles. I don't care what you're doing while you're driving. I don't care who's in the car. I'm minding my own business, driving my car. And so I'm not paying attention to the person that stops first at a four-way stop, because we have these rules of the road that says if you stop first, you go first. So I'm not going to look to see if you're waving me on. I expect you to go first. And so then all of a sudden I notice they're not moving and they're frantically waving me on. And it's like, you go, like you stop first. And then all of a sudden the guy that stopped third goes, 90% of the time in a pickup truck, by the way. They go, and now the person that stopped first is mad. And it's like, well, you should have gone like 15 seconds ago when you stopped first. But that's like 90% of my driving these days, is just stopping at four-way stops. Mm-hmm. If this is you, okay, if you encounter four-way stops, if you stop first, go first. You're not allowed to be kind with somebody else's time.
It's a very simple concept.
Yeah.
I've often said that people in the rural Midwest are about the friendliest people and the most, considerate people I've ever met. But that doesn't really work at a four-way stop, because like you said, there are the rules of the road that keep the traffic flowing. And when you stop and start waving people through, that just doesn't help anything.
No, it slows everyone down.
It does. And I love you mentioned that little dance that we do where it's like, you go first. No, you go first. No, you go first.
Mm-hmm. I could be in the middle of nowhere, which is easy to do in Greenville. but I could be on some back county road. And if there is a 4-way stop or a 2-way stop, whatever the case may be, I will get there at the exact same time as someone else. There could be no one else on the road, and I will get there at the same time as someone else.
So the universe is conspiring against you.
Looks like it.
Up here where I live, we've replaced almost all of the 4-way stops with roundabouts. Carmel, Indiana has the record for the most roundabouts of any town in the United States. And I read someplace they're trying to set the record for the most roundabouts any place in the entire world. And we have very few 4-way stops up here. And,
Good for you.
Yeah, you haven't driven here because we have all these out-of-towners. I mean, I have seen people literally stop in the middle of a roundabout and wave people to come into the roundabout, which, defeats the whole purpose.
Yeah. A roundabout is supposed to keep the traffic flowing. No stops.
That's right. By the way, if you go to YouTube and look up the roundabout record, I actually am part of the team that set a world record for the amount of time spent driving in a circle around a roundabout. 3 hours, and I think it's 36 minutes. All around one roundabout. And we did it on purpose.
That is crazy. 3 hours, 34 minutes, and 33.24 seconds. Anyone throw up?
No, as a matter of fact, they didn't. But I know somebody suffers motion sickness, so we had one driver the entire time, but some other people took turns going in and shooting video, in the passenger seat and so on. And it was interesting because he wouldn't come to a complete stop. We would slow down and one would jump in and one would jump out.
Oh.
So we had a couple of people that got a little queasy after 2 or 3 laps. He was driving a classic Volkswagen Jetta. And that's not the smoothest car on the road. So,
wow.
So, go ahead.
In Greenville, Greenville has its own problems with traffic, but here people have pretty much figured out the roundabout. If the space is open, you go. But Troy, my goodness, Troy cannot handle the roundabout. They're like you said, how you get these random people just stopping in the middle of it. That's Troy, Ohio. That's what everyone does. And I don't know how anyone ever exits the roundabout in Troy, Ohio.
It's been a while since I've been to Troy. Maybe I need to drive up there just to experience it.
Yeah, they can't handle the roundabout in Troy.
So twice in the last month or so, I've encountered somebody literally going the wrong way, going the reverse direction in a roundabout.
What?
Yes. How does that even happen? I don't know if they're looking at. And somebody, when I posted that on Facebook, somebody said, were they elderly? And in neither case they were. They look to be people in their 40s or 50s. I have that's great. I have no clue how that happens.
That's crazy.
I think I just solved it.
Wow. I mean, maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're from a different country. That's the only explanation I can come up with. It's just like, it's counterintuitive to go like the opposite direction in a roundabout.
It is.
I get that walking too, though. It's like, this is the United States. We walk on the right side, just like we drive.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, those little annoyances that get us cranky all day long, whether it's somebody driving slow in the fast lane, which in Indiana is, of course, a ticketable offense. The one that gets me is somebody that passes me and then immediately cuts in front of me and turns the right signal on and hit their brakes to turn right. I'm sorry that those 3 seconds I caused you were so important to you.
Speaking of turn signals, I do know that Mahmoud has pretty strong opinions on turn signals.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to drive in 4 million population area, so communication on the road is very important. So we communicate a lot with the horn and the turning signals and the hazards and everything. Like everything's used in Morocco. You use your hazards when you're passing something, like a cyclist or whatever. There's a lot of communication going on because there's a lot of volume of pedestrians and cars and vehicles shoved together, and they have to figure it out. So there's a lot of aggressive driving, a lot of honking, and a lot of like if you're merging or whatever, you're always using your turning signals all the time. Otherwise, you'll get honked at pretty hard if you don't.
And it works, right?
Oh yeah. And then like when you're stopping at the red light and then the green light goes on, you better be like TikTok.
No time to be checking Facebook, Karen. You gotta go.
Oh yeah, you'll get blasted from the back. Yeah, like everyone will start honking at you. So I come here and it's completely, the opposite because I live in the countryside now, and driving is much more comfortable. But I still see like things that kind of get on my nerves, like people not using their turning signal until like the last. I was like, why is this guy slowing down? What is he doing? And you're turning. Oh, great, thanks.
That was my biggest surprise.
Or the other one that I. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was my biggest surprise when I went and spent 8 days in New York City. I always thought, I'd had this perception of all the rude drivers and horrible traffic, but the fact is they drove much better there than they do in Indianapolis because they used their signals, they used their horn. People, they let people anticipate what they were going to do.
Right.
I noticed that driving from Florida to Ohio, that the norms really vary state by state.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Alabama, like people do not signal in Alabama. There are no turn signals in Alabama. I don't think they even work. Kentucky, people will just like park in the left lane. People are so slow in the left lane in Kentucky, and you get the whole semi thing, like this whole thing where like there'll be a semi going just like slightly faster than the semi next to it, and then they'll just camp out next to each other. That's a big Kentucky thing, and I'm not throwing them under the bus. Ohio's bad at a lot of stuff, so.
Yeah,
it is really interesting to look at driving habits state to state.
Yeah, so, since we're still talking about I guess I don't know how we got niched down into this theme, but in the countryside, there's something that's really unique. Is when people are coming home, and before they pull into the driveway, they stop at the mailbox with the car parked on the left side of the road. And they're trying to get their mail, and then they pull into the driveway. That's one of the most dangerous things I've ever seen people do.
And it happens all the time. I grew up in a town of 200 people, so you not only had that, but you had people stop, meeting somebody they knew, and they would stop in the middle of the road and have a conversation, roll their windows down, and just chat for 10 or 15 minutes.
Do you ever do the horn when you're passing them, Mahmoud?
Like honk at them?
Yeah, see if they drop them.
No, I don't do that. No, I don't want to cause more havoc.
Lots and lots of frustrations with everyday life. So, when we talk about that, frustrations and getting cranky as we get older actually has an effect on our mental, emotional, and spiritual health. What are some ways that we can deal with those frustrations? You guys were not prepared for that question.
I'm definitely prepared for this question. Well, I'm a little bit of an addict with essential oils, so this keeps me in check. I use essential oils during the day, nighttime when I'm sleeping, and it works. It really does, at least for me. That's one of the coping mechanisms. The other one, recently I started doing that also helped. I feel like every time I do something really hard, like the sauna, like sitting there for 15 minutes, really uncomfortable, that kind of gives me a better day to look forward to. especially with all the inflammation going on. Like I have back issues, ankle issues, and growing older, like you have to. I feel like you need to maintain more. Like I have to maintain my ankle more. I have to do more sauna. I have to do more maintaining this machine. I guess keeping it oiled up.
You know what? That is such a good analogy. And if you think about an automobile, you know, our car now has 200,000 plus miles on it, and it's still going strong. But the fact is, it takes more maintenance as it gets older. You know, you got to pay more attention to stuff, and the same thing applies to our physical health and our emotional and spiritual and mental health. You know, as we get older, we've got to pay more attention to that. Trent, do you have anything?
I think it's good to just try to have a short memory. As Ted Lasso would say, be a goldfish.
I love that.
So I heard someone say once that if you get cut off on the way to work and you're still angry about it when you get home from work, then maybe you're the jerk. And so, you know, I talk a lot about my hatred for four-way stops. But it's not something I carry with me throughout the day. It's just something I kind of remember. Like, yeah, I hate four-way stops because every time I stop at one, someone else does. All the reasons I mentioned before. So I think it's good if you get cut off on the way to work or school or whatever, and you are still angry about it by the time you get there. So I think you need to do some self-evaluation.
Man, that is such a great point. You know, my wife brought something to my attention a few years ago, and we use it every time when somebody cuts us off in traffic, or maybe they squeeze through on a on a dark orange light or even a red light. Excuse me. We'll look at each other and say, "Oh, they must have to poop really bad," and we get it. I love that. It gives us a laugh, and laughter is such a great way to release some tension, you know. And Trent, I loved what you said about it. You know, if you hold on to that, maybe you're the jerk. That is fantastic.
And one thing I started to do, and this has just come with, I think, getting older, is I've started letting other people do their own thing on the road. So I don't exactly drive slow. And if I get someone tailgating me, I'll just pull over, or I'll even get in the left lane. Like if it's just a country road or whatever,
right,
I'll just get over into the left lane and let them go by me. And, you know, if I'm going fast and you want to go even faster, I'm going to let you through. That way you get the ticket.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Good thinking.
That's great. And Mahmoud, I'm glad you mentioned some, you know, you mentioned essential oils and the sauna and some more holistic things. There are lots of really simple things that we can do to ease that crankiness, to ease that stress in our everyday lives. And, you know, kind of like what Trent pointed out, that phrase, "not my circus, not my monkeys," is a great phrase. It's very simple, but, you know, how does this affect me in the long run? Well, you know, it's not my circus. It's not my monkeys. Go ahead. I'm done with it.
Yep, I would agree. Yeah, we're getting bombarded every day with different things, different hammers,
right,
knocking on your head. You gotta pick your battles. You cannot just take everything on. Like you're not gonna solve everything that you have to push some things away from you.
That's right.
The negative stuff, the stuff that you don't have any control over. You just let it go. Focus on the things you have control over.
That's a great point. And, you know, 99% of the stuff that I see every day that has a tendency to get me frustrated, I really don't have any control over. You know, all I can do is what I can do. Everything else just has to go away. I think we spend way too much time worrying about stuff that we can't fix, worrying about stuff that we have no control over.
But you can shake your fist at those pesky
we
kids.
Can't do anything about it. All we do is right. Yeah. You can't do anything about it. So you're just thinking about it. So it consumes you, for sure. You want to occupy yourselves with things that you can have control over.
That's right. And when you find yourself frustrated with a situation that you have no control over, I've found it's just best for me to take some kind of a mental break and hop on my bicycle or go for a walk around the block or play with my cat or read a book or pick up my guitar and strum a few chords. Sometimes we need that mental, even just 5 minutes, just break that train of thought.
Yep. The reset button.
The reset button. Oh my goodness, this is fun. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. I have a reset button coming up at the end of the month.
Really?
I do this camping trip, a little off-grid camping trip, 3-4 days. Well, I make a living staring at screens, so
right.
I need that like once or twice a year, where for 72 hours, there's no none of this stuff. So I have one of those coming up at the end of the month, and I'm really looking forward to it. Because that's
Mr. Sprout Digital disconnects.
Yep, I do.
That's got to be
tent camping and camping and cooking over the fire and just like primitive stuff.
That's something that I think we all can relate to some extent, because most of us, even if we don't earn our living in the way that you do, are tied to a screen all day long, whether it's social media or whatever. When I was touring pretty much full time as an entertainer, if I wasn't on stage, I was always sending emails or booking or doing publicity all online. And that was one of the most difficult things for me, was to go on a vacation and let all that slide. And I'll be honest, I did not do a very good job of that.
It's hard. It's hard to disconnect.
It's
Especially
hard.
it's continuous work. Like you can't just pull. Like you have to set things. You have to delegate things to people, and then you can feel comfortable like pulling out for a couple days.
Right. So Trent, I'm going to ask you a little bit about your business. You're a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
What does that entail?
I can't really talk about it on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I ask what is rewarding and what is frustrating about your career?
The rewarding part is definitely just helping people come up with a plan.
Right.
A lot of people don't know where to start, and so being able to help them come up with a plan and then help them see that plan through. It's the adult version of putting together a puzzle.
Oh, that's awesome. So, and I don't know if this applies to you, and I understand that your industry is so heavily regulated. There's lots of things that that you can and cannot talk about. When I think about my life, one of the things I have to let go of in my, I'm also a minister, and I've also been very involved for years in the recovery community. So I have a lot of folks come to me and ask for advice. Maybe they're struggling with addiction or with a spiritual issue or with a relationship, and they'll come to me and ask for my input, and I'll say, I'll think about it. We'll talk about it. And I'll say, maybe you should consider this. And I see them go and do something completely different. And that's a real frustration. And it may be in your business too. Mahmoud, it probably is in yours, because a company may come to you and say, hey, how do I grow my company through social media or through being online? And you work up a proposal for them, and they do something completely different. I'm sure that's got to be a frustration that you face. So, that's one of those places where it's an everyday frustration for guys like us, and where we need to reset and take those breaks, whether it's a camping trip or pickleball or, a ride around the block or whatever.
In your Jeep.
Well, I mean, the internet's a fad, right, Mahmoud? Like, we don't need to advertise online.
No, it's probably going to be over like 2025. So you don't need to advertise or anything online. You're good. No, I mean, yeah, frustrations. I agree, Rick. There's definitely frustrations with our business. You tell people this is what you need to do. Here's the blueprint, but only 10% of those people go and actually follow through. And yeah, that is frustrating when you meet with the same business owner 2 years later, and they're still in the same spot. It's like,
Right.
okay, you just missed out on 2 years worth of work. But yeah, that is frustrating because that's my goal. Like, it's getting people online, getting people to profit online, getting people to take all their business and put it in a box online and get that machine going. And it's taken a little bit of work and time, but we're getting there.
We've been going for a while now, but I would like to bring up one thing before we think about, closing things out. But, if we find ourselves being cranky all the time, being frustrated all the time, being, on edge all the time, what are some things we can do to take care of that? We talked about taking a break, but let's talk just a minute about a couple of other things. Maybe there is a physical reason that we always feel on edge, that we always feel frustrated, that we always feel angry. Maybe we should take a look at our diet. Maybe we need a medical checkup. We kind of neglect. That's right. Oh my gosh. I'm a big guy. You know what? I've never been a huge candy fan. I'll eat it if it's around the house, which is a bad thing, but it's not something that I really crave. But those things can affect our emotional well-being, and we often neglect to look at that link between our physical health and our emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And there are lots of simple ways we can do that. It could be order a salad instead of fries. But anyway, if you're constantly finding yourself on edge, angry, and so on, I think we should certainly take a look at our physical health and see if there's an organic reason for that. Would you guys agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it's bread. I figured it out already. It's just bread. I love bread, and bread is also the same thing that makes me crash, be cranky. It takes me through that sugar roller coaster. You should see me at the end of a pasta meal with some garlic bread. Like,
that's really fascinating.
I clean the plate with the garlic bread. I clean that sauce. Like, that's my favorite part.
And then he starts every sentence with, "I'll tell you what."
Yes, I'll tell you what. I love bread, but I definitely manage to control that. So I hardly consume any bread now. I found ways around it.
Awesome. How about you, Trent? Do you have a trigger like that?
I think diet and schedule can really work together to downgrade your day. So I think we schedule ourselves out to the max these days, and I'm number one guilty in this column, but you have work, you have a side thing, which we're doing right now. We have, kids, and I have kids going to 2 different schools right now, which that has its own struggles. I have kids in 2 different activities right now. My wife works. So what you have at the end of the day is you're getting pulled in about a million different directions. Food becomes an afterthought. It's like, oh yeah, we need to eat today. And a lot of times maybe it ends up becoming something fast, something mostly junk. And so I think the schedule, for one thing, is a big stress for a lot of people. And I know I'm not the only one like this. You get stressed out to the max because you're thinking, okay, I'm doing this thing right now, but I have this thing coming up. And so your mind is never just on one thing. It's, I have to make this meeting, then I have to get out of this meeting and get my daughter to gymnastics on time. And then it's like, okay, I'm getting my daughter out of dance at 9:00 at night. She needs to try to get some sleep before school tomorrow, and we need to try to feed ourselves. And so I think it all works together. The stresses of a schedule and then needing to eat as well.
That's a great point. We're all just incredibly busy. I read a quote recently that has really stuck with me that said busyness does not. I'm probably going to murder the quote. Okay, it was just because you're busy doesn't mean you're successful. Sometimes the goal is just to be busy without thinking of what we are accomplishing.
Right.
And we'll come to the end of a day, we lay our head down on the pillow and we think, man, I sure was busy today. When we should be thinking, perhaps, what did I accomplish today? I think this would be a great topic for a future episode is how do we measure success?
Right. I agree. I think Denzel Washington has a quote on this. He says, "Don't confuse movement with progress."
Oh, I love that.
I think it was like a graduation speech or something like that, and I remember him saying that. Don't confuse movement with progress. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're getting stuff done.
Nice. Yeah,
that's a great quote, and it is so true. And I mentioned earlier being in recovery and working with the recovery community. I see that all the time. Who at the end of the day, somebody will say, "Well, I went to 6 recovery meetings today." Well, what did you do for your recovery? Well, I went to 6 meetings. Well, what did that get you? Well, I went to 6 meetings. We get caught up in that trap of, I did this, but there really was no end result.
Right.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to look. You said that was Denzel Washington?
Yeah, I think it was a graduation speech. Don't confuse movement with progress.
I love that so much.
But speaking of future episodes, if there's something you find yourself shaking your fist at, I mean, the title of this is Get Off My Lawn after all. If there's something in your own life that you are shaking your fist, just like Mahmoud there, let us know. I used to think I was all alone in my absolute hatred of 4-way stops until I heard other people talking about it. And so, hey, if you're feeling that way, you're probably not alone. Let us know in the comments or send us a private message, and we might cover whatever gets you shaking your fist.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to hear where this goes because there are so many. One of my pet peeves is, and I feel horrible about this, but I'll stop at the local, say, convenience store to get a coffee or something or get gas. And the person in the line, the checkout line in front of me, wants to tell their cashier their life's history. And I'm like, I just want to get my coffee and go home. That's all I want to do. But then I have to stop and think, well, maybe this person's lonely. Maybe this person's a widow or a widower and doesn't have anybody at home to talk to. Maybe this is the only social interaction they have all day long. The sad thing is, I usually think about that on my drive home and think, oh, I should have handled that a lot better.
Yeah.
I've got to put.
I find myself there too in like taxis and Ubers. Like I always make sure I answer, I talk. I talk with them because I feel like they're in a vehicle all day driving, and they're just waiting for that opportunity to socialize with someone. It's not always like a pleasant person, but if the person's pleasant and they want to have a conversation, I take part.
That's awesome. I love interactions with strangers. So, well, this has been fun, right?
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's giving me more ideas for other episodes.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait for next Monday and see what we're going to cover then. So as we kind of think about wrapping things up, I'm going to throw a question out to the viewers and the listeners and to you three and ask them to respond either in a comment or a private message. I'll go first so you guys have a chance to think about the question. And I'm doing this completely off the cuff. I had not even planned on doing this, but I like to be spontaneous. So here's the question. What can you do this week to be a little less cranky? So my answer is when I am in a public space, in a convenience store or whatever, be aware of the people around me and what their needs may be. Like the person in the checkout line, if I'm getting aggravated because they're having a conversation with the cashier, I'm going to make a point to think to myself, this person perhaps is lonely. Maybe this person just needs somebody to talk to. I'm going to really concentrate on that this week in an effort to be less cranky. So either one of you guys want to seize the bull by the horns?
Yes, I need to maybe cut caffeine after 5 p.m. I think that would be very good for me, for my mental health, and also being ready for bed at a decent time.
Well, this doesn't exactly answer your question, kind of does in a roundabout way. But I heard about a business owner who keeps those frozen ice cream cones in the back. And whenever a customer will come in and have a complaint, his assistant is instructed to grab an ice cream cone from the back, unwrap it, and hand it to the person. Because he says it's impossible to be an irate tough guy while holding an ice cream cone.
Yes.
So if you find yourself cranky, full of steam, just grab an ice cream cone.
I love that so much. I'm so glad you said that. I've not seen that story, but that is fantastic.
Yeah.
There are lots of creative ways to.
I love it. You cannot frown with the ice cream in your hand.
It's fantastic. It's great.
Genius.
And now I'm craving ice cream.
You're all welcome. Gonna go get a cooler from May Financial. Yeah.
Well, this has been great fun, guys.
Yeah. We should definitely keep doing this. I like it. I got more ideas.
Oh, good. I'm sure our emails will be flying hot and heavy over the next few days. And you can watch the replay on Facebook.
On Facebook and YouTube is where you can find us. Please like, share, leave comments about future ideas you want us to cover.
And please let us know what you're going to do this week when you find yourself getting cranky.
Absolutely. Can't wait to hear those.
So for Get Off My Lawn, I'm Rick Garrett.
I'm Mahmoud.
Trent May.
Thanks for joining us today.